Want to succeed this year with those New Year's resolutions? You got to make sure you do it right. You got to turn these resolutions into SMART goals. What is a SMART goal? A SMART goal is something that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So for example, if your goal is to get in good shape, we would say that's not a SMART goal. Because what does it mean to get in good shape? Like, does that mean that you fit into a very specific outfit? Does it mean that you exercise or do a specific type of exercise a certain amount of times per week or a certain number of minutes? What does that mean? So it needs to be more specific. It needs to be more measurable. It needs to be attainable. So again, get in good shape. We turn it into a SMART goal. We say, no, I want to go to the gym for an hour 5 times a week. Well, if I'm currently not working out at all, an hour 5 times a week is not an attainable goal for me. So I need to make a goal that is attainable. I need to make a goal that is relevant to me, to my own motivations, to my own belief system. Try not to think about what your friends are doing or what other people tell you that you should be working on or you should have in your life. What do you need to add to your life? What do you need to remove from your life? What would be relevant to making you the best version of you? And then time bound. We want this to be something that we work on over the next few months. We don't want this to be something we're projecting to work on for the next 10 years. And then once we make those goals, to ensure that we succeed with them, we need to look at a few things. Some main things I want to focus on. We have to focus on contingency contracting. We have to focus on stimuli and prompts in the environment. And we have to focus on shaping. And let's start with shaping. Shaping means that we're going to figure out these long-term goals and we're going to break them down into short-term goals that are more attainable. So again, if my long-term goal is to work out 5 days a week for an hour each time, but right now I'm currently doing 0, my first stepping stone might be 1 to 2 days a week of 10 minutes of activity. And a lot of people don't like that. They're like, that's nothing. It doesn't even count. Well, you're not currently doing anything consistently or reliably. So 2 times a week, 10 minutes, 2 times a week, consistently over several weeks is creating a behavioral pattern that you can add on to. Sometimes people will say no, and they want to do the all or nothing. I'm going to do the 5 days a week. And they do, and then they quickly burn out, fizzle, and that behavioral pattern dies. Well, they didn't set themselves up for success. You need to build up to and work up to these bigger goals by starting with short-term goals or smaller versions of that goal. This is what we call shaping. And then we have contingency contracting, which is also known as the Premack principle. An example of the Premack principle comes from Pink Floyd. You can't have any pudding if you don't eat your meat. Okay, what does that mean? It means we're essentially holding pudding hostage until we eat the meat. And so one example of this could be, I'm not going to allow myself to watch my favorite TV show until after I have worked out for at least 30 minutes or something like that. But in order for contingency contracting to work, we have to pay really close attention to what we hold hostage, to what we're motivated for, to what things we find most rewarding in our life, and then contrive these situations in a way that works to our benefit. And the last thing I want to talk about are the stimuli in our environment. There are certain stimuli in our environment that we could say trigger a response. So for example, if I see an ashtray, it might trigger me to want to smoke. And so removing certain stimuli in the environment that tend to evoke or trigger bad behavior is smart, but we can also add stimuli to the environment that prompt us to engage in good behavior. So again, if I'm trying to exercise more frequently, maybe one thing I can do is set my environment up so that my tennis shoes are by the front door with the socks in them every morning. So it's like, as I'm walking there, I see them, I grab them, I take them with me, and I potentially walk a little bit while I'm at work or whatever it may be. Okay, so those are some really important things to consider when goal setting. But for now, try to focus on setting realistic, attainable, specific goals. Start small, work up to the long-term goals. Analyze your environment, establish routines, figure out what motivates you and what doesn't, and use those things to work for you as opposed to working against you. Good luck, and if you need help along the way, you know where to find me.